Hi students, this is Unit 1, Lesson 4, Subfields and Careers in Psychology. In this lesson, we'll take a look again at basic versus applied research. We will identify careers in psychology, we'll look at subfields in psychology, and ways that we can use psychology in lots of different areas. We start with looking at subfields of psychology, which includes basic research. So basic research adds to the knowledge base, the things that we know about behavior. So we are investigating human behavior, mental processes, so that we add to the things that we know about such. These include the fields of biological psychologists, which explores the links between physical brain and mind. So remember that biology, our brain and nervous system, influences the way that we behave. Absolutely, because if there's a disconnect there, then we're not going to be behaving in a normal way. It may be considered abnormal. Developmental psychologists are going to study changes in the lifespan from womb to tomb. A developmental psychologist might look at a specific age group, or they might do a cross-sectional study where they pose the same question to a group of 10-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. Developmental psychologists, womb to tomb, over the lifespan. How do we develop? How do we grow? Here, cognitive psychologists experiment how we perceive, think, and solve problems. Remember that cognition means thinking. Thinking is cognition. Cognition is thinking. So how do we perceive? How do we react? That's the field of basic research. Cognitive psychologists experiments with how we perceive, think, and solve problems. When you see cognition, think thinking. So they will provide basic research about how individuals perceive information. A personality psychologist will investigate our persistent traits. So if you have always been extroverted, that's something that maybe a personality psychologist will study, the trait of extroversion and where it lies, maybe on a spectrum, something like that. A social psychologist will explore how people influence one another. So say peer pressure. Social psychologists look at love and belongingness, prejudice, discrimination. These all fall within the realm of social psychology. The industrial organizational psychologists will study and advise on behavior in the workplace. And so they are going to look at best practices when it comes to production, work. Popular for industrial organizational psychologists today, I would believe, is the returning to the workforce after COVID. We found out that we could work from home and do the job just as well from home. So some people now today say, why can't I just do my job from home rather than go into the workplace? So we're going to continue to see information about that. I'm sure that industrial organizational psychologists are investing in that right now. Now, applied research. That is when we use, this is basically the influence and control human behavior of the goals of psychology. They're going to use the basic research, the findings of basic research to apply to their situations. So a counseling psychologist may study certain theories and apply it to help people with challenges in their job, in their marriage. Maybe this woman is seeking this man's advice with anxiety. Maybe he is a clinical psychologist and she is in a clinic. She's in a hospital, in a behavioral unit or something. A clinical psychologist, if this is Dr. Anderson, will specialize in treating panic phobias, social anxiety, health anxiety. They are there to treat mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders. Now you'll notice that psychiatrists differ from clinical psychologists only in the fact that they can prescribe medicine. Well, I'm sure there's many other ways, but this is one. A psychiatrist can diagnose and treat, but they can also prescribe medication. And so if they're seeing a schizophrenic, they may prescribe an antipsychotic. Take a look at this pie graph and be sure that you note that most of the psychologists in the applied research field work as clinical psychologists. So they're in behavioral units maybe and diagnosing. Other specialists, and these include careers in psychology, are environmental specialists who may study the effects of the environment on behavior. So, crime trends, do they rise when it's hot outside? Noise pollution, how does that affect people's demeanor? Consumer psychologists are going to look at data, like consumer data. That's how social media is run today, looking at data analytics and how many clicks and likes and such. School psychologists are going to help in schools with learning problems, perhaps. Other subfields include forensic psychologists, which is all popular at our school because we have that field, we have that class. Expert witness to testify at trials. They may work up, psychological profiles on criminals. A health psychologist study the links between psychology and our physical health. So I'm into that, meditation, exercise, and how that balances my mental well-being. Educational psychologists can study and help students and teachers in their school, so it's a bit more comprehensive than just a school psychologist. That is just a very brief overview of some subfields and careers in psychology. In class, we'll look at some more and where these people might work. We'll explain how basic and applied research are valuable in our lives. We'll identify more careers and see how these individuals can use psychological science in lots of different careers, because everywhere you go, you take your observable, your behavior and your mental processes along with you. So it's all interrelated.